Hello everyone, I'm the Weather Dude, welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about the severe weather threat that is going to be lingering today, and we're going to be talking about more specifically tomorrow because Saturday is going to be a more dangerous day for severe weather. Before we get started, however, be sure to drop a like and subscribe so that this video reaches more people that probably do need to see it, because a lot of areas in the Northeast, a lot of highly populated areas, a lot of metropolitan areas are going to be affected by storms tomorrow. So let's get started with this video here. And as you can see, the severe weather is going to be covering a big part of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, right? So this is tomorrow. You can see there's a marginal threat from just about Boston, just south of Boston, down New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, Baltimore, and even spreading inland, places like Mount Pocono State College, down Richmond, Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia, just to name a few places here, including the Capital District of Albany, Worcester, Mass, Hartford, Connecticut. All right, so all you guys are under the gun for severe weather. And of course, there is a threat back towards northern plains. We're going to be focusing specifically on the Northeast and northern Mid-Atlantic for today. And looking at the flash flooding threat, there is a marginal threat that extends from the Northeast all the way back to the central plains or the southern plains and parts of the deep south. And of course, due to the monsoon season, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado as well. But in the yellow and red is where you really got to worry. All right. So this basically goes for central New Jersey, very northern corner of Maryland and Delaware, and includes Philly and New York City. And New York City is kind of like in that moderate zone, which is even worse because these areas just got hit by Elsa. We don't need any more rain. Boston is definitely in the slight risk. Worcester, Mass, and Albany and Binghamton are in the moderate risk. So, as well as Newark, New Jersey. All right, even northeastern part of Pennsylvania as well, parts like near Scranton under that moderate threat. So, meaning a better chance of excessive rainfall, exceeding flash flood guidance. Obviously, those higher chances in those yellow and red colors. All right, so let's go and move on to some models. We're going to look at two models today. Obviously, we're not going to look at any global models because they're more for mid to long range. We're going to be looking at the NAM 3KM and the high resolution model here. So we're fast forwarded already to tomorrow. This is about noon time we're starting off with here. As you can see, here's the low pressure, the surface low. Here's the front. Here's your cold front, and here's kind of like your warm front. All right, so your warm front is sort of like here, and your cold front is here. So these are going to be progressing to the north and east as we head through the day tomorrow. And of course, we're going to have a southerly flow in terms of the surface. We're going to have a southerly flow, right, in this warm sector here. We're going to have a more northwesterly flow, all right, behind that cold front here, all right? And the warm front, obviously, where the colliding areas, that's where we have most of our precipitation. For the meantime, that's until we get towards the afternoon. So this is 4 hours later. This is 4 o'clock p.m. And you can see all these little supercells and areas of severe weather that we see pop up here, all right, across the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Again, this is not exactly where they're going to be. I would take this as more of a guidance to see like where they could be and where areas could be in line. And notice the surface low, right? 10, 12. By like 4 hours later, the surface pressure fell to 1009, so the low is strengthening. And in part of 4 o'clock being the better part of the day in terms of heating, that strengthening surface low only means more energy in addition is getting feed into the storms of what they already have. All right, and then 1009, and the low even strengthens more as it moves eastward, 1007. So now at this point, we see more precipitation near the low center. And of course, now look at the complexes. They start to become a little bit more widespread. They're not just cells anymore. They're kind of like little mesoscale complexes potentially that are moving through as well. So definitely should be on the lookout for that. All right, and then we see the gust front move. Here's your cold front. Here's sort of what your warm front is left of it. This gust front moves to the mid-Atlantic. So you're going to kind of have your cells out ahead of it. Then the main cold front will push through. That's where we see some severe weather sometimes. Storms bubble up out ahead of the front. Then the front pushes through, and that damage and wind threat will probably be at its highest at that point. And then all the precipitation makes its way up into the northeast. Behind the low, it gets a little cooler. Obviously, you can't really tell just by looking at the red lines because it's summertime. There's pretty much always going to be red lines there because probably no chance of snow. I could pretty much say that with a guaranteed fact. Looking at the dew points for tomorrow, 77, 78 in some spots, and down in the Delmarva region. So dew points are going to be through the roof. Anywhere in lavender, dew point is higher than 70 degrees. So basically anywhere, pretty much anywhere in that black zone, you guys are going to have dew points probably higher than 70 degrees. That's a big chunk. All right, and even upper 60s is just as muggy, or well, not really, but muggy enough to support some heavy rainfall and those thunderstorms. So Boston, dew point, this is only by noon, by the way. 65 for Boston, 75 for New York, 76 even, 75-ish for Philly, 76 for Baltimore, and 72 for Washington, D.C. As we head towards the afternoon, all right, some places the dew point will get higher. Look at southern Pennsylvania, 79 for a dew point there. If you caught that reading I just did, 79 right there. There it is again, 78, 79. So that is extremely muggy. That's like air you can wear to another level. All right, so very, very high humidities here, and gradually these are going to be on the decrease as the storms move through. Right, watch as the storms move through, and once the gust front moves through overnight, look, dew points are already crashing a little bit, not very much, but then once the front clears through for good, there you go. Sunday, dew points fall into the 60s. It's a bit more comfortable, even 50s in northern Pennsylvania. And by Monday, we might even see some 50s continue to spread out more and more. And we'll get a look at what that high-resolution model says to that later on. So, mixed layer Cape. A lot of the energy will be down around the Delmarva, including Philadelphia, New Jersey, even part through New York City. So we're going to have a lot of that Cape energy. That's going to spread north as we head through the day. And then as that front spreads through, out ahead of that front, there you go. More of the energy is confined towards the Delmarva, which is why I believe that maybe more of the action up here, because there will be some action near the surface low around New York and maybe even southern Vermont. Maybe more of a rain threat up there than severe weather, but still cannot rule out any gusty winds there and maybe some small hail. Although hail, probably going to be wind and rain. Hail not as big of a threat here. And then the Cape will start to wear down as the storms pass through. Here we have the shear. Now the shear is the only thing that maybe it sparks a little bit of good news, because I don't think the storms are going to be able to last long. And I'm not saying flash flooding is not going to be an issue. If a storm only lasts for like 30 minutes and you get like 5-inch an hour rainfall rate, that's still 2.5 inches of rain. It's going to cause a lot of flooding. But aside from that, a lot of the wind shear will be near the surface low, which is going to be up in probably farther interior northeast, near like where that warm front is. Because notice, right towards the afternoon now, the NAM model, if you did miss it, I'll go back, but if you did miss it, around hour 29, you can see a little gust front, or like a little area of storms that was moving from north to south here on the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border right there. So if you guys watch that closely, watch as it moves from the north, from northern New Jersey down south. See how it like pushes itself south? Well, let's look at that again on the wind shear map, and you can see, right? Here it is at hour 28. There it is at hour 29. It continues to move south. So a little bit of increased shear in that area, so that could keep the storm lasting a little bit longer. But in the region in general, not as much shear. Most of the shear, and why the storms will be lasting a little bit longer, will be probably up in New York. All right. Now, there is still going to be some turning of the winds with height, so I'll also talk about that. Probably your best chance when the gust front comes through, you could see an increase in shear. But other than that, shear not too high, which is obviously why the hail threat is also pretty low, if not minimal. Here we have the supercell composite, so we can see the chance of supercells. Again, probably around the 4 o'clock hour-ish, and it's probably going to be in Pennsylvania, New York. Cannot rule anything out, though, near Delmarva either, just because you're not in the shaded region. And you still could be in the shaded region, right? As we head towards the very later part of the day, there still could be the chance of some supercells. And again, that means the chance of supercells given the environment. That doesn't mean supercells won't form if you're not in that shaded region. Just keep that in mind as well. All right, here we have the significant tornado parameter. Chances of tornadoes. Now again, tornado threat is pretty low in general, but the threat will probably be where we see higher shear, closer to that surface low, a bit more energy provided by the low, as opposed to more heat energy will be down to the south. But this energy associated with the low will be farther north, into more of the northern Pennsylvania, southern New York, kind of coastal northeast area. So that's probably, we could see a little bit of tornadoes. A couple tornadoes cannot be ruled out, but I think most likely wind and rain with a very slight chance of hail. A couple of these could probably be severe warned storms at times. But again, severe criteria is 58-mile-an-hour winds, 1 inch of hail, and or a tornado. So even if a storm is not severe, 40, 50, or 55-mile-an-hour winds does not meet severe criteria. That's still very strong winds. And if it's a big complex of storms, those 40, 50, 55-mile-an-hour winds, which is equivalent to tropical storm force, even though they don't meet the level for severe criteria, that's still some very damaging winds. So keep that in mind. Now looking at the wind crossovers, this is at noon. Now this is more for getting hail tornadoes and such. Turning of the winds with height is more associated with tornadoes. So you can see the red lines, particularly across the mid-Atlantic region here. Notice how the red line, that's like your surface wind coming out of the south. Then with that front that's coming through, even though the front's still back here, we still have wind coming maybe from the southwest direction. I'll paint it a little bit better, like this. So those turning of the winds with height could mean that we could see some rotation and maybe some tornadoes. But look what happens here, right? As the front starts to get a lot closer. Now we're talking about the front pretty much being right here at this point. So look how the winds are coming out of the south, even southeast at this point, right? So I'll even paint it from this direction. And now the winds are going to become even more from the west because of the front getting closer. So any rotation will probably, the best chance anyway, will probably be when the front gets closer, right? And as you can see, right, you can tell where the front is because behind the front, notice how the red and blue lines are coming out of the same direction. So I would pretty much put the front right about here, all right? There could even be like a little secondary front. This could actually be another front too, because notice out ahead right here, we still see winds coming out of the south and then crossing to the southwest. So the front could still be ahead right there. But then the front pushes through. You can kind of tell when the cape starts wearing out. Your front's already pushed through, and you're going to start clearing out. Sunday will be like a transition day. Monday will be the more, calming day. Sunday we probably won't see precipitation, but Monday will be a lot less humidity, maybe a little bit cool down in the temperatures as well. All right, let's look at the updrafts, because updrafts are also very important. And you can see most of the updrafts, again, are Pennsylvania and New York. Strong updrafts, shown here, can lead to strong downdrafts, which can lead to big gusts of wind and rain. And of course, as the front moves through later on, we could see those down in the Delaware and the Mid-Atlantic as well. So we're going to go to the high resolution model, but first let's start by saying that there is a flash flood watch for New York, for northern Pennsylvania, eastern Pennsylvania, the northernmost county in Delaware, so that's Newcastle County, and then central and northern New Jersey as well. And if I go back, that also does extend back to Ohio, which is not due to tomorrow's threat. Most of this, farther to the north, is due to tonight's rain. And then the alerts that are further south, like for the Mid-Atlantic region, this is going to be associated with tomorrow's threat. And of course, that heat advisory is still laden under there. Obviously, you just can't see it for right now. So we're going to get to the flash flood watch, and then we're going to get over to the high resolution model. For the northern Mid-Atlantic area, the Philadelphia area, 1 to 2 inches are expected with isolated totals, local totals, up to 3 to 5 inches are possible. So very heavy rain is in store here. National Weather Service and State College, slow-moving front, locally heavy rainfall. They didn't really state any totals except for that there is already extremely wet soils. There's some other flood watches here. None of them really state how much rain. This one coming out of National Weather Service at Albany, 1 to 3 inches with locally higher amounts. Rainfall rates could exceed 1 inch per hour at times up in that region. All right, and I think that is it in terms of, we have this one out of New York City, I think. Showers and thunderstorms expected to move the area. Rain will fall, of course, in the areas that are already seen wet conditions with Elsa. Potential for flash flooding. They didn't really state specific totals of what they think. So, but generally do expect to go 1 to 2 inches if you get under a thunderstorm, possibly higher in those stronger thunderstorms. High resolution model, the HER, aka whatever you want to call it. Pretty much the same maps except on a different model now. Notice the surface. I started at the same time as I did the other model. We're starting at noon on Saturday. Low is a bit weaker, 1,016 millibars. So the precipitation appears to be a lot weaker as well. Keep that in mind. The low, not as much energy if the low is a bit weaker, but the low could strengthen. Nonetheless, a couple millibars, but notice it'll be weaker than what the NAM had, by the way. But still, you're still seeing a lot of gust front thunderstorms, a lot of supercells, a lot more organized areas of thunderstorms. So even though the high resolution model might have a slightly weaker low, they might have more heat energy. And we're going to get to those models or those maps in a little bit. So again, there's your low, there's your fronts that are going to be pushing through, and then everything will clear out behind that. But a lot of heavy rain with some of these, and even like a little bit on the back side as well to finish it off. So looking at, we have the mixed layer cape, and again, starting at noon, and you can see that for the Delmarva and the Mid-Atlantic, again, that's where we have our highest cape values between 2,000, even up to 3,500 there near and just southwest of Philly. All right, that's eventually going to be spreading north. That southerly flow is going to continue to move north out ahead of our front. And once the front moves through, we start to lose that heat energy, and then things will probably be tapering off. But notice, even through early Sunday, still a little bit of cape lingering behind it. That's just potential available energy. It doesn't mean it's still going to be raining or storming into early Sunday. All right, but as you can see, we still have a lingering area of some more higher cape values between 1 and 2,000 joules per kilogram. And we could see a little resurgence in Sunday. All right, that's why I said Sunday might be a transition day, but definitely by late Sunday into Monday, things will start clearing out for sure. Those cape values really do get reduced by then. All right, so looking at the shear, again, like we looked at the other model, we're going to look at wind shear again. Starting at noon, as you can see, pretty much the shear remains where the low is tracking or near where the front is as well. So the shear remains farther to the north, but of course, when those thunderstorms come through, expect a little increase in shear. And there's a slight potential for hail and tornadoes. I can never rule them out when we're talking about severe weather like this. But probably on Sunday, we see a little tail end of that storm system. Again, it's a pretty slow moving front. That's why I said Sunday might be a transition day. Monday will probably be the better day if I had to pick between Sunday and Monday. If we look at here, the Supercell Composite, all right, as you can see, chance for supercells, as you can see, her keeps a little bit further south. Before with the NAM pretty much had them all like up here. Maybe the NAM had them up there. The HER might have them down here a bit more. So maybe a bit more supercells towards the Delmarva. At least a better chance for them based on the environment that these models have set up here. Significant tornado parameter, chances for tornadoes. Not out of the question here with some of these supercells that develop. And of course, maybe with those gust fronts, you can see some rotation. We're going to go over that in just a little bit here. Then that moves through late Saturday. And then Sunday, we might start our clearing day. And our updraft helicities, what kind of updrafts are we seeing? Noticeably weaker than what the NAM had, but notice anywhere in there, if I had the general track, is probably in this zone right here. So probably a bit further north. But then, once the front moves through, don't be surprised, we can still see some updrafts down there towards the Delmarva as well. I know it's pretty hard to see. And finally here, let's take a look at those wind crossovers. So this is starting at noon already. Southeast wind at the surface, according to this model. Southwest wind at 5,000 feet, indicated by the blue. The black, don't necessarily pay attention to. That's like tens of thousands of feet up. The red and the blue is what we want to look at here in terms of our wind crossovers. But notice that once the front passes through completely, notice we got winds coming out of the west or west-northwest at both sides. So it really just, the wind crossovers do change after that. But notice out in the ocean, where the front hasn't passed through yet, south wind at the surface, southwest wind 5,000 feet. So just keep that in mind as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. I am the Weather Dude. Thank you for watching the severe weather threat video. I'll catch you guys in the next video.